went to move my car the other day, my 87 Regal, and pretty much didn't have any brake pedal. This car's pretty nice and rust free, especially like the body's real nice on it. But there are spots like right here. This brake line sits down here in this clamp, and it folds over it, and it gets packed with dirt and moisture, and it finally rotted it out. So we got to replace the brake line. It's not too bad of a job if you know what you're doing, and I will show you how. So you got a nut here where your brake line threads into your wheel cylinder, and then you got another one over this way. It threads into a like a little block there. But whenever you take these off, make sure you don't use like an open-end wrench like that, because you can round them off pretty easy. You want to use like a line wrench like this if you're going to use a wrench. It has a lot better surface area around the nut to keep it from rounding off. What I like to do on an old piece of junk here that I'm throwing away anyway, I like to get in here, a pair of side cuts like this, pinch that line, and then you can just twist it off, because you're gonna have to throw it away anyway. You're replacing it. So now you can get a nice socket on here. Get you a nice 6-point socket on here, and you have no worries about rounding that thing off. It comes out real easy. That's the safest way to do it. And then your new one will be nice and new, and you can just use your line wrench on it and it'll be fine. So that one's off. I gotta climb up underneath here a little bit, get to this back one. This back one, it comes in the side right here. That's the one that we're dealing with. So we'll go ahead, do the same thing to it. Let's give it a little wiggle, comes right off. So now we got the old line off. Let's go ahead and take these nuts out. It could be 1 of 2 style threads and flare. We'll have to just take it out and see what we got, and we'll get a new one put in. So this one turns out to be a 7/16 nut on here. So we'll put our socket on here. There you go. Work at least real easy. So you gotta know what kind of line to get, what kind of fittings and flares. So I can tell by looking at this one, this is what they call a double flare. It's like an inverted flare here. I'm pretty sure it's a 45-degree angle, could be wrong, but that's what it seals up on, is that like kind of like a cone shape in there. So that tells me all the double flares I've seen are standard threads. So that tells me I need a standard size nut. The other type they have is what they call a bubble flare. It's more of like a mushroom head, and those would use metric threads on those. I got some brake line here in the garage. I think I have a few extra nuts. I could actually reuse this one if I wanted to, but I'll go see what I got. So I keep a few fittings and stuff here in my garage. I got these nuts here, 3/16, like I said, standard. These nuts here, let's go ahead and use some new ones just to be sure. You're gonna want to take your old one and put the threads kind of on top of each other like that. Make sure they line up perfect. If you can look at the light coming through there and everything's lined up nice, you know you got the right thread. So I got my nuts here, my 2 brand new nuts, and then back here I got a whole roll with this brake line right here. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and make sure you put your nut on first. Slide your nut on, and then you'll flare. I'm going to flare one end of this, then I'll kind of route this. I'll figure out how to route it in there. It bends pretty easy. You can bend it with your hands pretty easily. They make tube benders. You don't really need them for something this small, I don't think. You can bend it and make it look pretty straight with just your hands. So yeah, let me we'll get my flare kit out, we'll flare this in, and then before I get too carried away, I might just take underneath there and get like because this is kind of a lot to work with. We'll get kind of idea about the length. We'll make it a little longer, and then we'll flare one end, and then we'll cut it to where it needs to be. So I'm just gonna go down there, kind of eyeball the length of it. We'll cut some of this off, and then we'll get to flaring. There's my old line, here's my new line. I got a little section here and here that go up. I need to kind of add that, you know, to the length after I bend it. So If I cut it right about here, that should be plenty. You want to use a nice tubing cutter like this. Get a nice clean cut on it. Most all your brake flaring kits will come with a tubing cutter like this. Just kind of running around, give it a little snug, running around. Just keep doing that till you make it all the way through. Doesn't take very long. There you go. So now we'll go get my flare kit. We'll get this end flared on here. So I can tell by looking at it with the double flare. So you're gonna get your double flare kit right here. It's gonna look like this. You're gonna have to figure out what size line it is. I know mine's 3/16. If I didn't, you could just see which one fits in there, and then you'd be able to read what size it is. So you just stick this in this clamp here. Well, first you need to, we know we're 3/16. You probably can't read it, but it actually says on these little things here, this is the 3/16 tool you're going to use to do some of the flare. So you're going to put this in here, like that. Get ready to tighten it down. Don't go tight yet. What you want to do is you want to use the thickness, this first step here. The first step of this is how far your brake line should stick out to get a proper flare on it. So you want to make sure that looks about right there. So once you get it sticking out the right amount, you're going to go ahead and lock this thing down. Sometimes I like to use this thing here, just give it a little extra. All right, so now that's on there, you're going to start flaring it. You're going to put this thing right in here. You want to make sure when you cut that, you got all the burrs and stuff off of it. That one looks pretty clean. Stick that in there. This goes in here, like so. Need to back it off a little bit so I can get on top of this thing. There it goes. Let's get that nice and centered on that little adapter there. Then you just go and crank this thing down. You can do this underneath the vehicle if you have to. If you need to flare the end of an existing line. This is a short line of mine, so I'm just going to replace the whole thing. So that's the first step. It's called a double flare because you flare it twice. That's the first step, is that. That keeps the nut from coming off the end of it. Make sure you got the nut on first before you do this. In my case, I can slide it on from the other end still. But on the other end, I definitely need to make sure I get it on there first. So that's step one. Step two, take this off. And now you flare it with just this cone shape. This cone shape is what, that's the surface that it seals up on. So you go and you just run that in as far as you can. There we go. See, it's got a nice cone shape in it now. Go ahead, take this back loose. We'll go ahead and thread the one end in there and kind of get an idea where my bends need to be, get it bent, and then see where my final cut needs to be on it. All right, it's threaded in there. Obviously going through your spring here, it's not going to be a good idea. We're going to want to bring it down here, put it back in these clamps that are made for it. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a couple bends in it with my hands. We can compare it to the old one here. We're going to need something like that. So let's try to get that 90 in it pretty early, right? Get that 90. Now, like I said, they have kits to bend it, but like I said, you don't really need them. So it looks like a nice 90 there. And then we're going to want to copy this distance right here, that right there. So this is like this, then we're going to want it to bend right there. So let's go ahead and put that in. You want to be careful to bend it kind of evenly and not kink it any. Okay, let's kind of see how that looks. Go ahead and put another 90 in it, like right about here, so I can get going that direction with it towards the front of the car. Okay, so I put this 90 in here. I'm going to do it a little bit earlier. So let's go ahead and do it a little sooner, like that. You can measure this real careful, but I mean, it's so easy to work with that I just kind of do it on the fly. So go ahead and bring that down. Get these in these brackets here. Get in there. Bring the bracket down some. There. All right. So that's gonna look pretty good. I gotta thread that in still. And then this is gonna come over, and we'll have to get on this other side to see where we're at over here. Okay, now we're back on the front side here. Got my new line coming through. Needs to go right there. So I'm gonna bring this down, try to keep it. It's gonna be in that bracket. I'm kind of holding it down in that bracket because you don't really want to finish it until, you don't really want to smash it in there until you're done. So it's gonna come like that, and then you don't want to try to get this long piece. I could just cut it shorter, but we'll just go ahead and bend it. If it comes in something like that, that would be pretty good. Now I'm just going to bend this piece out of the way because we're going to cut that off. So if that comes in like that, just kind of work it till it fits right. That'd be about right there. So now I just need to mark this, and we'll go ahead and get it cut. We'll slide our new end on, flare it, and then we'll just thread in both ends and bend the tabs back down, and they'll be complete. And we just gotta bleed the brakes. So get a Sharpie or something, I'll mark that, and then we'll go flare this other end. Same thing as before. This is where I need to cut it. Go ahead and cut it right here. There you go. Go ahead and get all the burrs and stuff off of that. Make sure you put your nut on. You don't put this nut on, you're not going to get this nut on. You're going to have to redo this whole line. So you got to make sure you got basically a straight enough section to for your nut to slide down on. So it needs to get out of the way so you can slide it through here. This one, it's got a little too much bend, so I'm just going to use this to kind of help me straighten it. Slide it in there. There we go. If you have to, you can rebend it afterwards, but it's got to be straight. Get your nut down out of the way so you got room for your thing to clamp on there. Put that on. Check your height with this thing. So it's a little high right now. That looks pretty good. So we'll lock that down. All right. Put our tool on. Take this off. Do it again. it is. Take these loose. There's the other end right there. So go ahead and install this in the car. Should be a real nice fit. This goes over that way. This one comes here. Go ahead and get underneath this spring thing and over top of this lock. Use this open wrench just to thread it in. It's easier to get in there and just get it ran down. And then once it's snug, I can try this, or it's probably best to use a line wrench if you're going to put any kind of torque on it. I can actually do that with my fingers. It's going in pretty easy. I'm going to leave it for now. I'll give it the full torque once I get both ends in here. So now we go back in the front here. There's that. It's a little, the angle's a little off because I had to kind of straighten it a little bit. So I just put a little more bend back in it. Like I said, just kind of eyeball it. That to me looks pretty straight. So I kind of shove it in the hole like that and thread it in. Go ahead and run that one in, which it actually is. Now we use a line wrench. Except for I have the wrong size. These are brand new nuts, so I don't feel like getting out to get the right wrench. And I trust myself enough not to round them off. So there's that one, nice and snug. Get this back one. All right, that's nice and snug. Now we just bend these tabs that hold your brake line. Put that down in there and bend that tab back over it like that. There you go, there's the finished product. Brake line's replaced. It's all routed nice and clean, looks good, nice and tight, like it is factory. Now we just gotta bleed the brakes. All the brake fluids come out. It's nothing but air in there. It's not gonna work too good. So we're gonna go ahead and right above that fitting, that's what they call the bleeder screw. They put that up on top so the air all runs up and out of it. It's always at the highest point. So now we need to crack at these. That's part of how you bleed the brake. So that one's kind of recessed. A lot of them are kind of flush. You can get a wrench on it, which is probably a lot easier because you can kind of crack it open and shut it real easy. If I use a socket, I'm gonna have to put it on and off, but this one's kind of recessed, so I don't really have much of a choice. So that goes down in there. Make sure it's on there. You don't want to strip this thing and then crack at least. Doesn't have to be real far, just enough to where it's unseated. That one's cracked loose. Now if we look here, this here's like a T fitting, right? This comes in from the, this goes all the way to the front of the car. This hose here goes into a line that runs to the brake master under the hood. So the rear brake line comes here and it goes off to the right, or the left and the right, which is opposite of how I'm looking at it. So if I got nothing but air in this line, which I do because it's new and it's all leaked out, I'm gonna have air over in this line too. So we're gonna have to bleed this brake also. Now when you're bleeding brakes, you always want to start with the furthest brake from the master cylinder. Your master cylinder, I'll show you that under the hood, it's on the driver's side. So you're gonna start with this passenger side rear. There's a little rubber boot on top of it that just broke off. I'm gonna go ahead and crack this bleed loose. There you go, it's loose. Now we'll go up under the hood. Okay, here we are under the hood. This is your brake master. When you press your brake pedal inside, it moves a rod in there. There's some pistons in here that push the fluid to your wheel cylinders or your brake calipers. So your drum brakes have wheel cylinders, your disc brake have brake calipers. So go ahead and pop this cap off here where your brake fluid is. Now if you look here, one is completely empty, the other one is somewhat full. It's because your front brakes and your back brakes are in two totally different circuits. The front brakes, being how this isn't empty, it's fine. I don't have to bleed the front brakes. The rear brakes we got to bleed. So we're going to go ahead and fill this up. So we're going to go ahead and top this off. I might go a little high because it's going to be leaking out. It's the last of that bottle. My boy Trent's getting his shoes on. He's going to come out here and help me. I want to go over how this works here. So we're going to be pushing the fluid and the air out of the brake lines. So what you're going to do is you're going to step on the brake, you're going to apply it slowly. You don't want to go real fast, make it, shoot a big mess out the back of the car. And like I said, you start with the furthest away. So I'm going to go back under the car. We're going to do the passenger rear only right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to push this pedal down, push out the fluid and air. If you were to let this back up, you would then suck in air from the bleeder. So before you let up, you always got to close the bleeder valve. So what's going to happen is I'm going to get back there. I'm going to let Trent work the pedal up here. So he's going to go, I'm going to tell him go down. He's going to press the pedal down. A little bit of air is probably going to come out. It'll take a while before I actually get any fluid probably. But we're going to do this a bunch of times. So I'm going to say down. He's going to push down. The valve's going to be open. I'm going to close the bleeder valve. Once it's closed, I'm going to say up. He can then let it up safely. I'm going to open it back up, say down. He can push it through again. We're just going to do this a whole bunch of times. Up, down, up, down. And when I start getting fluid back there, I'll take a good look at it. You can kind of watch it. If he does it slow enough, you can watch it come out and see if there's any bubbles or something in it. Sometimes it's easier to if you take a little clear piece of the tubing and slip it over the bleeder. That might make it easier to see if you got air in there or not. But we're going to do that once the passenger side looks good. We'll go over to the driver's side and do that one, and then we'll be ready to roll. While you're doing this, it's very important you make sure your reservoir don't go empty. This thing goes dry, you have to start all over. So after he pumps it so many times, come up here and check and see where your fluid level's at. Add to it as you need to. Okay, we got Trent in here. This is easy. Any kid or anybody can handle this, except for you might want to have to slide the seat up, except for I don't have a battery in it. You gonna be able to press that in?
Oh yeah.
Okay, it'd be easier if I plugged in the battery and put the seat forward. But anyway, so what you're gonna do, Trent, when I say down, you're gonna press the pedal to the floor and you're gonna hold it there. Okay, when you reach the bottom of the pedal, it's down all the way, you're gonna tell me down, so I know it's down all the way. Okay, then when I say up, you're gonna let it up. When it's up all the way, you're gonna tell me up. Okay. And we're just gonna do this a whole bunch of times. Okay, I'm under the car. I got the driver's side tightened up. Like I said, we're gonna start here on the passenger side. Usually the bleeder is kind of flush. You just put a wrench on it, you just crack it like a quarter turn and close it, and you can do it real fast, real easy. This one, for whatever reason, they recessed it and you pretty much got to use the socket, which kind of sucks because I got to change directions of the ratchet all the time. So what you want to do is you want this thing pretty close to being tight. Right there is tight. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to back this off like a quarter turn. It don't have to be very much open. So there it is there. I can feel that's loose. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close it. Okay, so now I'm going to tell Trent. All right, Trent, go down all the way. Slowly. He's going to tell me down when he gets down all the way.
Down.
Now he's holding it down. Now I need to lock this thing down before he goes up. In other words, it's going to be sucking air. Okay, it's down. Now I'm going to say up.
Up.
Now he told me up. I know he's up off of it. Now I can open it back up. Down.
Down.
Now I got to close it again. Up.
Up.
And I'm going to stop filming here. You guys get the idea. I'm not going to show you this 100 times in a row. Down.
Down.
But this is how you do it. And eventually you get fluid back here. And then you're going to do it a few more times to make sure all the air is out of it. Up.
Up.
All right, so I'm going to get this done and then I'll check back. Trent made a rookie mistake. Hit the pedal too fast. Splash the fluid out all under the hood. If you do that, make sure you get it off all your painted surfaces because this brake fluid will eat the paint right off of it. So it's probably best just to put the cap on so it can't do this. If you do it real slow and careful, you won't have that problem. You can actually look from the sitting in the seat and look over and see that you're not shooting it out. So we had a little discussion and he kind of knows now, so we should be fine now. You should go ahead and try it, Trent. See, do it nice and slow. There's already a bunch of air in it. I'm just gonna you just sprayed it everywhere. We're gonna clean all this off with some brake clean. We don't want any of this stuff eating the paint off the car. Get it all rinsed off. Slow, slow, slow. Try it again. There you go, no faster than that. I'm gonna go and put the cap on because I don't really trust it. We have to pull the cap off every time we want to check the fluid. All right, back under I go. So I'm using a vacuum pump to suck the air and fluid out. This would be the same as if somebody was pushing the pedal. But I just want to show you this hose. If somebody's pushing the pedal real slow, you can watch the air come out if you got like a clear line like this. So when I suck it, you'll see the air bubbles. So you're just gonna have him keep pumping until you don't have any more air bubbles. So that's what it looks like. We're just gonna keep, I got the vacuum pump now, so I'm just gonna use it, but you don't have to. You can have somebody just push the pedal and get all the air out like this. Just make sure you close it before he lets it go back up. Okay, so I kept that T-bone there. I had Trent, and once we started getting fluid, we let it bleed a little bit. I had him press it real slow. We got to the point where we weren't getting any bubbles at all. So I tightened up passenger side first, so we went to driver's side, did that one, tightened it up. Now we got a good solid brake pedal. It's real firm. My fluid's topped off, got the cap back on. We checked, make sure the brakes are actually grabbing, and I think we're in good shape now. And that's how you fix a broken brake line. So thanks for watching, and Trent and I will catch y'all next time.